It's so exciting to see you all back here again today for this celebration. And some of you may be new to this work, so what I hope to do is share some of the history of weighing in and then invite you all to continue joining us in these efforts. So before we get started, I would like to take the opportunity, as we normally do, to go around the room and have you all introduce yourselves, name, organization you're from, and please feel free to share any updates you may have related to healthy lifestyle work from your organizations. So we'll go ahead and start right over here with Annette Campbell.
Hi, I'm Annette Campbell. I'm Director of Score One for Health. We are an outreach program of KCU. And that is all I'm going to say, because I have two very important people here that can tell you much more about what we are up to.
Hi, my name is Katie Bennett. I am the CHAMPS coordinator at Kansas City University. That is Coaching Health and Movement program with students. We train medical students to work with families in the Kansas City area on creating healthy lifestyle changes that will last a lifetime. The update we have is that we are branching out into early childhood, so 0 to 5, and I have some handouts if anyone wants some after.
I'll go ahead and put those on the front table for anyone to pick up. Is that one?
My name is Perry Weidling, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Score One for Health. So I work alongside Katie on the CHAMPS program, and we're really excited to be working with families with younger kiddos and looking forward to getting to know more early childhood learners.
I'm Emily Bison-Sebelius, and I am a project coordinator with Weighing In, so I won't give any updates at this point.
I'm Robin Scooting, I'm with Midwest Dairy, and I'm also on our Healthy Schools. I'm the co-chair for our Healthy Schools. Are we supposed to give an update on that at the moment, or do you want?
You are welcome
Okay.
to. You have one?
I will tell you, our next meeting is February 7th, if you'd like to join us or let us know. The other Emily, she actually works with us as our chair, so we are planning to we're hoping to have someone from the KCMO School District, KCK, and School Nutrition Program come and visit a little bit more about the snack programs and after-school suppers, dinners, because we're learning there's so many criteria to be able to hold those and have those, but it seems like there's a growing need for that, so that's kind of on our next agenda to really learn more, because as a group, we want to encourage some of that, but we don't always know those fine details that impact being able to offer those programs, and it all has to do if it goes through the school nutrition program or if it goes through CACFP and the education component and all of those. So if you have any interest and want to join us for that meeting, please come. Again, it'll be February 7th, and we meet at the Don Chisholm Center at 2:30, but you can reach out and we'll definitely share with that. So, and at our last meeting, we had the opportunity to really talk about some of the things going on in both sides of the state with No Kid Hungry and breakfast grants on both sides. In Kansas, doing some baby breakfast models in schools, and then Missouri's also doing, and both states are increasing in the number of schools that are serving those after-school suppers. The difference between a snack and a supper has to do with the components that are fed at those times. So that's kind of where we're at and what we're looking at in the next few months.
And I will just mention quickly, at the end of the presentation this morning, we'll have dates for the working group meeting. So if you didn't get a chance to write that down, we'll have that available for you afterwards. And I would also encourage you, if you haven't already picked up the evaluation, to pick up the evaluation form, because if you'd like to join the distribution list for any of our working groups, the ability to do so is on the bottom of that form. So thanks, Robin, for that update.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Foster. I'm a local company in Kansas City on the Nutrition Incentives Program. I'm actually in capacity manager as of this week. So I'm still getting my sea legs under me, so I've got nothing to report.
Well, what I'd like to do in recognition of that, so as many of you heard at our last meeting, we are really trying to practice what we preach. And so we want to encourage both healthy lifestyles, good nutrition by healthy breakfast, but also physical activity. So in honor of your, we'll call it a promotion, please join me in giving a standing ovation. Congratulations and welcome.
I'm Stephanie Dixon. I'm with Kansas City Kansas Public Schools, and I am the physical education coordinator
whatever they want to call me this week. I also serve with Robin, and just this has been a great program I've been kind of I feel like I've been hijacked a little bit. We have a new superintendent, so I'm going to really rely upon Children's Mercy Hospital and the Wayne Inn program and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Fantastics to try and change some people's minds. So I'm really excited about it because being an advocate is something that I feel like that's right in my wheelhouse. So I'm going to fight hard. So if anybody wants to join me in on the Kansas side, that would be fantastic.
Okay, I'm Ann Biswell. I'm with Mother and Child Health Coalition. I'm the communications coordinator, and we manage a number of different programs. The main one is Kansas City Healthy Start, and so through that program, we help young pregnant women and young mothers and their families to do many different things, including improve their lifestyle and their nutrition and that kind of stuff.
Okay, good morning. I'm Susan Mclaughlin. I'm Executive Director of Mother Child Health Coalition, and in addition to Healthy Start, or part of Healthy Start, in May we produced a document called From Birth to One, Infant Health in Greater Kansas City. And thanks to Children's Mercy, we were able to get these printed. I did bring anybody who hadn't gotten them, there's a couple up front. But so many of our activities since May have really focused around the data that's in here, which is really pretty chilling because it says we lose 130 babies a year in Kansas City. They die before their first birthday, and that's equal to about 11 babies a month in our bi-state area. And I heard a lot of people are with the schools. That's equal to about 6 kindergarten classes when you have about 20 in each class. So every year we lose 6 kindergarten worth of children to infant mortality. And that's so those would be future doctors, nurses, phys ed teachers, nutrition and social workers. So it's a really big impact. And so there's data, and it really shows Jackson and Wyandotte County, particularly Wyandotte County, where there's such a big disparities in the infant mortality rate, particularly for African Americans. But also on the back of the document, we talk about mom's health. You've probably heard maternal mortality is a growing concern for everybody. But under mom's health, out of the 23,681 births, 5,796 of those moms are obese. So that's how we need to continue to work with weighing in to really combat that. And I know we've talked about the breastfeeding collaborative, the Metro KC breastfeeding collaborative. We continue to work hard on that. Christy Smith, who's part of this group and the chairs the early childhood committee, is one of the co-chairs along with Kristen Schlenk. But they have 3 work groups, and one of the work groups is in the breastfeeding in the workplace, and trying to work with the businesses to have policies in place. So we continue to have this program, the awards for businesses that are promote breastfeeding friendly, make it easy for moms when they return to work to continue to breastfeed. So we welcome anybody who wants to participate. All of this is on our website, which Ann handles, so we check out our website.
I'm Nancy Sanchez, and I coordinate the WIC program for Wyandotte County. And we don't have any specific WIC updates because our biggest one was due when he went back in January. So we're almost a year into it. But next week we will be giving the WIC stamp of approval on the DOT mobile brochure in City, Kansas. And so that's really pretty exciting. I don't know how much got accomplished at last night's meeting, but it was quite an agenda of these little tiny things that are monumental to being able to get out on the road. So we're really super close. Of course, every month we're thinking, we're going to be next week. Oh, no, it's not. So we're super excited that we're finally getting to that point. The truck is done. We had a soft launch. Was that last week?
Yes, the week after Thanksgiving, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so the truck is done. It's
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly. A few little glitches. So that's I guess that's a short update on the multicultural.
And I will mention that Nancy is also one of the co-chairs for the Early Childhood Working Group.
Hi, my name is Jerry Kitsey. Retired from Kansas City Public Schools, but I'm not really good at retirement, so I'm back at Kansas City Public Schools. I was the former director of early learning there, and I just wanted to give a little update about what's going on with Kansas City, Missouri, and the mayor and his proposal for pre-K. And we were trying to be on a November ballot for a 3/8 sales tax to promote universal access to pre-K within the Kansas City, Missouri boundaries. So that includes 15 school districts. The school districts were a little concerned about how the mayor goes very forcefully forward without involving people sometimes, so they asked if we would delay until April, and we've been negotiating what's the best way to get this done when you have 15 school districts inside a municipality, all with competing interests. So we this week had a great breakthrough. You'll probably be seeing a lot more right after the first of the year about pre-K for KC. We have agreement with the superintendents for how this might go forward. The idea is really to promote, since it's a sales tax, to promote the development of childcare where there is no childcare, especially in lower income neighborhoods. 3/8 sales tax means it's an economic development driver, so 20% of the funds have to be dedicated to brick and mortar, building new childcare or expanding childcare where it doesn't exist. Mid-America Regional Council will be involved as probably one of the lead entities in helping to deliver this. And the main goal is to make sure that wherever you have childcare in a community, that it's elevated above childcare to early learning, so that all kids, all young children enter school prepared to succeed. So yes, it's a sales tax. Yes, that is regressive. The Kansas City Public Schools tried for 2 years to get enabling legislation at the state level to do it through a property tax, unsuccessful. The mayor decided to take charge and make it more available for children across the city. So with the superintendent's supportive, I think we have a good chance. The polling looks really good for April. And it should mean a great boost to many of the providers, because there's a significant amount of tuition discounts for families that build up the capacity of the provider to offer better salaries, maybe a better workforce. So there's a lot of issues here, but you'll be hearing a lot more about it, and you know it comes to the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's come up here to the front.
I'm Amy Vance with MU Extension in the Northland.
And Denise Sullivan, MU Extension here in Jackson.
I'm Robin Shook, Children's Mercy, the director of Weighing In, and I'll let Shelley take care of our updates. But I just want to say thank you for coming today, and especially thank you for being a partner over the past 10 years. I think probably the most important thing that Weighing In does as an organization is to engage with partners. So thank you so much for being involved with our group.
Hi, my name is Tori Humes. I'm with YMCA Head Start. We serve children ages 0 to 5. Specifically, the center I'm at, we serve 0 to 3. I'm a family advocate, so kind of like a case manager. And we have 5 other centers across the metro area, 3 or 4 in the Northland, and then we're the furthest south, actually. And I don't have any updates because this is only my second meeting, but I've loved coming and getting all the information from everyone, and I feel like there's a lot of great partners in this room, so that's why I'm here.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Sherry?
I'm Sherry Kisker, Platte County Health Department, and I wear a couple hats in this arena. First one is that we sit on all of the school health advisory councils that have been established now since probably the inception of this program. We've had them around and they've grown. They are growing. They continue to grow, which is a good thing. And the second thing is that we have a primary care clinic that serves uninsured and underinsured at the health department, and we are looking at, we're in the infant stages, so we're looking for information, but our board is totally supportive of it and looking for ways for our practitioners to prescribe healthy diets for those families that we're seeing in our clinic that have special needs, whether it's they're diabetic or even, not just children, but even adults as well. So we are in infant stages of that, looking for all kinds of guidance. So if you have anything, and I will be in touch with you too as well as we look at that. So, and Children's Mercy, thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone, and first of all, congratulations to weighing in and Children's Mercy, to Shelley and Dr. Shook and the whole team here, Bryce and Dos Emily's. I'm Rich Overcast with the Health Resources and Services Administration, or HRSA, for those that don't know. We're one of the 11 operating divisions within the Health and Human Services. My office is located here in Kansas City. We are the Office of Regional Operations. Our main task is education and outreach for several different public health topics. One of HRSA's 4 priorities is childhood obesity. So this is a great place, great venue for us to connect with stakeholders throughout the community. One of my main functions is to inform those stakeholders about funding opportunities and things kind of coming down the pipeline. I will tell you, in my personal opinion, there's not enough funding opportunities in the way of childhood obesity. So that's kind of some of the surveillance that we gather in the area, and we send back out to the East Coast to go, hey, we need to see more funds coming down the pipeline aimed at these kind of efforts. So I'm the state lead for Kansas and Missouri, so if you have any needs on either side,
You're my new best friend.
all right. Please hit me up. I'd love to talk to you. So thank you.
Good morning, I'm Bryce. I am a graduate student at UMKC and a graduate assistant with Dr. Shook and Shelley weighing in.
Hi, I'm Alicia. I'm an intern for Weighing In with Shelley and the Emily's. Tomorrow's my last day, so thanks for having me here. I'm excited to learn about everyone.
So please join me in a standing ovation for Alicia and her internship.
Okay, hi, Sarah Hampel. I'm a pediatrician at Children's Mercy and involved in treating kids with obesity, as well as have been involved with weighing in since the beginning. And it really would not been possible without the dedication of partners like MCHC and KCU and Wyandotte County Health Department, and a lot of great partners over the years. I've been most recently involved in helping spread the word about the Missouri Children's Services childhood obesity recommendations, and those are a set of 5 recommendations that we're trying to put into action now. One about childcare, one about schools, one about treatment, one about just kind of eventually setting up oversight or centers of excellence for care of kids with obesity and prevention of obesity, and then an oversight commission. And we are excited that Missouri Medicaid is very close to releasing the benefit for childhood obesity and adult obesity treatment. We're expecting that sometime in the spring or summer of next year, and it'll be a intensive behavioral intervention, which is the most evidence-based, combined with some medical nutrition therapy. And I've been helping get the word out about that to medical providers in the area. So we'll continue to keep you guys posted through weighing in of how that's going.
Great, thanks, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Joy. I'm admin assistant for Wedge Management Children's Mercy. I just joined this team like 2 months ago, so
and hit the ground running.
That's great. This is Joy's second meeting as well.
Yes,
Hey,
this
Joy.
is my second meeting, so enjoy to see you guys.
I'm Megan with the County WIC, and I'm a nutritionist.
Good morning, I'm Mallory Moon. I'm an education coordinator with the Zoom to Health and Fit Kids Evening Group programs at Children's Mercy.
My name is Nicole Howard, and I'm a nurse at Children's Mercy, and I'm also 2 classes away from having my BSN. Thank you. One of my last projects is to see the community resources available for our families to prevent childhood obesity, or for adults as well. So I thought this would be a great meeting to attend and see everything that's available to our families.
And we have a nice big table over here that you will see resources that I sort of talk a little bit about available for you to look at, let us know what you're interested in, review, etc. So last but not least, Wesley.
I'm Wesley McCain from the Wyandotte County Health Department. We have a couple cool things going on. We've been working for, I don't know, depending on how you've been engaged in the project, either 3 years or 20 years, to open our levee trails around because we have two big rivers that kind of cut across our metro area, and they've been closed to the public for years and years. And so we just got an agreement to open up another section, so now we have a 3.5 mile trail, and we have a grant to redo it, resurface it, and build a crossing across the road that's in the way. And we're going to have a big event in June when all the work's done to kind of open it up and unveil it. So we're really excited. That's been kind of a 1 step forward, 2 step backward, 2 step forward, 1 step backward. So that's exciting. This is something we'll be doing in 2019. We're working with Bike Walk on a complete streets ordinance in the county. We're not sure exactly what that looks like yet. We have a resolution right now, but we'd like to put something in place that has a little bit more accountability to it and guidance for the city. So that's something that we'll be working on, and maybe working with some of the partners in the room about. So.
Very exciting work going on. So thank you all for sharing those updates. And really, this meeting is more about celebrating than about presenting. So I don't want to stand up here and give you a long presentation, although I have a long presentation. I am going to go through it very quickly. The point of this presentation is really not to go through the details of the work that has been accomplished from weighing in partnership with many of you. It's really just to highlight some of those things that have been going on. It certainly doesn't reflect everything that we've been involved with. It's really sort of looking at high level as we think about this work from both the systems perspective and the sociological model. But before we do that, I'm not sure how many of you are really aware of the history of weighing in. And so I just wanted to take an opportunity to recognize some of the people and the organizations that have been here really since the beginning. So we're recognizing 10 years of Weighing In being housed at Children's Mercy, but Weighing In really started around 2004 with the Mother and Child Health Coalition. And so under Susan's leadership, we were able to secure a grant. We had a community messaging campaign. At that time, it was called Eat Small. We began hosting quarterly meetings and set up a steering committee as well as working groups. So this is work that really started almost 15 years ago. And so we're really thankful of that partnership and our continued partnership with Mother and Child Health Coalition, because as many of you who've attended these meetings in the past have heard, our message, etc., materials are really designed for kids 2 and older, or people 2 and older. And so MCHC really fills that gap from both pregnancy through early childhood. So again, very thankful of those partnerships that we've had in place. And in 2008, we moved the leadership of Weighing In to Children's Mercy, thanks to a lot of effort from Dr. Sarah Hampel. And in about 2010, that was the time when we were able to hire our first director. Many of you know Deborah Markinson. She was unable to join us this morning, but under her leadership, we really took some time to look at the landscape, ask our members at that time what they were looking for in terms of weighing in, what direction we wanted to go, and thought a lot about strategic planning. And as I've already mentioned, we're really using this socio-ecological model to sort of ground our work. We really need to have multi-level, multi-sector work to really create enough force in the system to change the environments, to improve health. So I'm not going to belabor this at all. I'm really just going to run through the history here and invite all of you to join in a conversation or ask any of us about some of this work in more detail after we're done with this presentation. So most of you know that in 2011, there were funds awarded through the Affordable Care Act. Some of those funds went to the National Initiative for Children's Healthcare Quality, where they established a learning collaborative, so a national learning collaborative, really looking at multi-sector work. How do we do this work in communities across sectors in a more coordinated way using a quality improvement framework? We were chosen as the Region 7 representative. And this is a picture of our first team. We started with 5 organizations. Some of these people you may recognize, some of them have moved on to other things, but at the time it was the YMCA, Children's Mercy, Casey Healthy Kids, the Kansas City, Missouri Health Department, and Family Health Partners, which is no longer called Family Health Partners. They are now called Integrated Care Solutions. What we were really excited about with that project is they also were using a sociologic framework to guide their efforts. It really aligned very nicely with where we wanted to go and the types of things we wanted to do. So that work started in 2011, and as a result of that, in 2012, we went from what was called the Healthy Weight Collaborative to what we now refer to as the Healthy Lifestyles Initiative. I hope all of you are familiar with our message and materials. As a result of our efforts with that learning collaborative, we developed some snazzy materials. Many of them you can see over here in this table. In addition, we developed a framework that we use for engagement. So hopefully you've all seen this. You may not remember it yet, but we hope that you do. Our framework involves using a consistent message, doing an assessment, creating plans. If you think about multi-level work, we want to make sure we're looking at policies and practices that make it easier to create healthier environments, and then how do we tell the story? How do we demonstrate that we're actually making changes here? So this is the framework that we began using as we talked to organizations about how do we want to engage in this work together. And as all of you, I hope, know, our message is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fantastic. And we did take some time during that year to really go to our audience, go to our partners, go to patients and families in the community to see what do you want your message to be? What do you want it to look like? So they voted on the look and feel, and this is what we've come up with. I will point out, this is just an interesting aside for those of you who are not very familiar with the history. On our table over here, we have some, besides the snazzy educational material, we have some other snazzy materials that we've used to promote the messaging. So you see a water bottle, some activity cubes. We also have a t-shirt. Well, the original t-shirt had the message 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we chose that to align with work going on in Chicago. They were a great partner, a great leader in this work in terms of how do you manage this in a community setting or within a city. We had a number of challenges with trademark issues. So our message, after we'd already printed our t-shirts, changed from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you may get a chance to see that original shirt that is highly valuable. The only one left of its kind. In addition to that work that was mostly focused within the primary care setting, we continued to work across sectors and looked at school wellness policies and did an assessment of the schools in the Kansas City region or the districts, really looking at, do they have wellness policies? Are they in place? Are they being implemented? And what's in the wellness policy? As a result of that work, they selected 11 priority policies for action and developed resources to go along with that. Some of those resources you'll see over here at this table. We make all of those things available to any of our partners at no cost through our websites. In 2013, we were lucky enough to receive a fairly significant grant to expand the work of HLI to make sure we can continue to do this work, both within the healthcare setting, but also expanding into communities. And we wanted to look at things a little bit differently, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And we continued our policy work in the early child care setting as well. So did a policy assessment in early childhood. Those results are available as well. In 2014, a lot of groundwork was laid in a number of different areas. So faculty and staff began the work in a state subcommittee that you heard Dr. Hampel talk about on childhood obesity, created by the Missouri Children's Services Commission to develop recommendations for childhood obesity prevention and treatment. So I wanted to point that out because 4 years later, that benefit still is waiting to be enacted. So that's just an indication of how challenging this work can be, and why we need to continue to do this together and support each other in these efforts. We worked with partners at the Department of Health Management and Informatics at the University of Missouri School of Medicine, looking at how do we identify indicators that we would need to help us determine whether or not we're making a difference. We began work creating a systems map. So really looking at what does the childhood obesity system look like in the Kansas City metro area. Hopefully many of you have been able to hear presentations that we've given on that work, not just earlier this year at our obesity summit, but at other meetings as well. One of the many takeaways of that, because that information alone really could be its own hour-plus long presentation, but I did want to just highlight one of the many takeaways was we were able to identify 260 programs in this system related to childhood obesity across 100 organizations, but less than 10% involved collaborative efforts. Okay, and again, just wanting to highlight the huge opportunity that we have here to work together. During that year, we also worked to strengthen partnerships with a focus in communities. And so you heard Wesley talk a little bit about what's going on in Wyandotte County. We were able to partner with Healthy Communities Wyandotte. In addition to work we did in Columbia, Boone County, where they also had a strong coalition of organizations who were interested in changing their environments as well. We were able to provide training using that Maps for Change framework and sharing access to our resource and materials on both sides of the state line, which we think is really outstanding. We also started the Fitastic.org website to house those materials to make them a little bit easier to access for our partners. The other piece that I think is so interesting, and this is a result of that J.R. Albert Foundation grant. We know that obesity is a complex problem, and that complex community problems really require new approaches and a community voice. So we began working with a group of organizations, people representing organizations, thinking about how do we better engage the community voice in the efforts that we're doing. So we started work with a planning committee, really working to create a community engagement governance structure. That work started in 2014, and I'm going to highlight how we're using that right now. But moving on into 2015, we were lucky enough to work with an organization called 2020, who was working with youth, I'll say high schoolers, again across both sides of the state line. Those youth, as part of their leadership development, had to participate in project-based learning. We were able to partner with 2020 to include health in their projects. So these are just some pictures from that work where you see these teenagers. They have their Fitastic t-shirts. Some of them are, the top one I think is hosting a dodgeball tournament, so promoting physical activity as they're engaging in their projects. And leadership development, another group hosted a dance contest. From what I understand, that was the bomb. And they were also to do a little bit more systemic work connecting paths to neighborhoods around some of the high schools in Kansas City, Kansas. So lots of great, exciting things going on there. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services became a partner in our work and helped to make our resources available across the state through Ymca and health departments. So if you were working in those areas, you just contacted your state office. They would print the materials and send them to you at no cost, which we thought was phenomenal. In addition, these are some highlights of community messaging, how the message was shared in different communities, and these are in specific counties across the state of Missouri. So there was a bus ad on the bottom left, that's Columbia, Missouri. The top left are billboards that were here in Kansas City, Missouri, and Jackson County. Top right, I believe that was Hickory County. Emily, is that right? And then on the bottom right, that was a Facebook campaign in Putnam County. So lots of help getting information out about our healthy lifestyle message and improving health behaviors. This is really highlighting what Sarah was talking about. The Commission released their recommendations in 2015, and as you've heard her mention, they're working very hard to implement those recommendations. 2 recommendations are around prevention, 2 are around treatment, and then 1, as Sarah mentioned, is that Oversight Commission recommendation. So focus in childcare and schools, treatment really looking at covering that evidence-based multi-component treatment, and then centers of excellence, which I consider really focused on treatment as well. So really sort of hitting both of those models, and then looking at developing that oversight committee as well. We do have the executive summary available here today if you want, and we'll make that available electronically as well. As many of you know, if you know Deborah Markinson, you also know, pardon me, the end of 2015, she went back into semi-retirement, as many of us seem to be doing. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that at the end of 2015, the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce declared 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Fantastic the community message for the Greater Kansas City area. So that's really not very well known, but it was a really exciting opportunity for us, for the Chamber, to actually declare this is the message that we want to support. So they've been supporting its use in workplaces as well as across community settings. So in 2016, we were able to hire the second director, Dr. Robin Shook. And we're thrilled to have him here providing leadership for these efforts. He's really a great fit for this role because at the time we're really looking to expand our research capacity with an eye on evaluating our efforts. So we'd finally been doing this enough that we had enough information to really look at how well are we doing this, what can we do better. In 2016, we participated in a grant project with Truman Ymca called Partners for Health. That was also a group effort that was focused specifically in the Linwood corridor. So you see the Linwood YMCA was our partner. And this was really sort of our first work at bringing in community voice. On the bottom left, you'll see the leadership team. And there's only one of the participants, but on our leadership team we had 2 WIC clients who participated in the development of the activities that were going on in the Linwood corridor. So we're really excited to sort of test what that looks like. How do we do this in new and better ways? That year, we also worked to expand across the state of Missouri in a little bit more detail. So there were 10 health departments who really took on the Maps for Change framework and created plans for how they wanted to manage their efforts, looking at changing environments related to healthy lifestyles. Those counties are highlighted by the stars. If anyone is interested, we can share those with you as well. And it continues to expand across the state of Missouri. Policy work, again, still focusing on multi-level efforts. We were able to create an early childhood toolkit with support from another funder, and implement a school wellness policy implementation training that year. So last couple of years, 2017 and 18, we've really been focusing on evaluation and expansion. We've gotten into the area of food insecurity. So many of you have heard us talk about access to healthy foods, which is really important for many families. Lots of barriers to eating healthy, access being one of them, affordability being another one. So we began looking at some testing a food prescription model within primary care, providing prescriptions to fruit and vegetable market here in town. And then this is the year that we really started working on evaluation of our healthcare data. I'm not going to share the details of this data. I'm really just sharing this so you can see the types of information that we have access to and we're trying to look at to better understand what makes a difference in this work. So this is highlighting demographic data. This is data we're collecting within our primary care clinics at Children's Mercy Hospital, and we've been collecting it for about 5 years now, Sarah?
Probably since 2011, so about 7 years.
A little bit longer. This is really looking at, again, the type of information that we're collecting, obesity prevalence. So we get BMI data, age, gender, race, ethnicity. We can look at this broadly. We can drill down a little bit more to look at how this is impacting people of different races or ethnicities. And then we are working to find funding so that we can create more maps like this. With the data that we have, we're able to look at prevalence data by zip code. Layering that with other environmental data can help give us a picture of what's going on in communities and help us direct how we might coordinate our efforts better and where there might be higher needs. So this is just a snapshot of that. So far, I believe we've only been able to highlight or create a map like this for 1 year, maybe 2 years. But what we'd love to do is use this to go back, look at how we've been doing, and to continue doing that moving forward. In addition, we just published a paper this year looking at health behaviors from that same data set. Very exciting for us. That work was directed by Dr. Shook. We can look and see how might we change our conversations or what other resources might families need as they're beginning to change their lifestyles. I hope you all know we have social media. If you don't, please like us on Facebook. We have Pinterest boards. Like us on Instagram as well. And then we've been doing a lot of work trying to expand resources on our YouTube channel. In 2018, and I feel like I'm really doing a lot of talking here, so I'm going to wrap this up quickly. I do want to thank HRSA for their support. They were a big partner with us in hosting an obesity summit this year. So 2 days we spent really talking about the systems and thinking about multi-level, multi-sector work. So we had, as a matter of fact, Wesley participated in some of the presentations, but really highlighting organizations who were doing this kind of work so that we can learn and again, coordinate our efforts more effectively. We have a new look and feel to our website this year. If you haven't checked out the new website, I invite you to do that. And then, so to wrap it up, I want to bring it back to this sort of socio-ecological system. We've done a lot of work across a variety of levels. Policy assessments, you heard me talk about community interventions on both sides of the state line, and really looking at organizational change. We do know, however, that opportunity exists to further link and integrate our work, and we know that more collaborations are needed. So as I've already mentioned, really what as you've heard Robin mention as well, we want Weighing In to be seen as a convener, a connector, and an evaluator. So we convene through quarterly meetings, so thank you again for taking the time to join us today. And we convene through larger summits or workshops like we were able to host this year in conjunction with HRSA. We work to connect through monthly communications. So again, I'll remind you to pick up the evaluation forms so you can connect with us in those ways where we share information. We also invite our partners to share information with us so that we can get it out to a wider audience as well. And we also work to connect partners who would benefit from doing the work together, both in these meetings as well as through some of our monthly communications. I hope all of you are participating in one of our working groups. Healthy schools and early childhood are our focus right now, and we'll give a little bit more information about the next dates for those. And over the last really 8 years, this work has resulted in $1.4 million, over $1.4 million in funding, and 23, at least, I'm going to say at least 23 grants, where we were either the primary awardee or the sub-awardee. So again, we really want to thank you all for your trust in us to do this work, and thank you for helping us grow and strengthen our partnerships. Excuse me, as you heard me say when we first got started with the Healthy Lifestyles Initiative, we had 5 organizations represented. We now have over 500 across both the states of Kansas and Missouri. So this picture on the right is a snippet from our Google map on our website. So when partners join us in this work and sign up to be a partner, we invite them to identify what sector they're working in. So on the left-hand side, you can see how people or organizations identify the area or the sector that they're working in. So you can see where we've got a lot of capacity and areas that we might need a little bit more capacity as we begin doing this work. So with that, I want you all to join me in a round of applause. And I want to thank you all for joining us, excuse me, in these efforts. And now I want to take just a few more minutes before I let you network again with each other. I want to invite Dr. Hample to come up here, excuse me, and join me as we recognize a few individuals and organizations who have contributed significantly to our efforts. So I do realize that a challenge in recognizing people for their work is the unintended consequence of leaving someone out, or others not feeling valued for their contributions, but I do want to take a minute to do that. And by naming specific people or organizations today, I in no way mean to imply other efforts are not valued or appreciated. So again, I thank you all for joining us in this work. So now I invite you to either join me at the front or you're welcome to just stand at your place. But I would like to recognize Susan Mclaughlin from the Mother and Child Health Coalition, the first organization to provide leadership behind you.
It's so great to see how over the next 10 years that you've really grown and done so much.
So thank you for all of your support and efforts. I'd like to recognize Annette Campbell from Scoring for Health. Annette, not only have you done a number of projects in Score Run recognizes the community message, but Annette has been involved really since the inception and has participated on the original steering committee for Weighing In and been involved with these efforts since the beginning. So thank you, Annette. I'd like to also recognize Nancy Sanchez. She also was on the original steering committee, has been involved for many, many years, and has served as the early childhood working group co-chair as well. So thank you. I'm going to call out Deborah Markinson, even though she's not with us today, for all of her efforts as the first director. I'd like to recognize Stephanie Dixon, who is the co-chair for the Healthy Schools Working Group, and if you can't tell, is extremely passionate about this work, since you're all going to be her new best friend.
Yes. You still know it yet.
I'd like to recognize Robin Stewie from the Midwest Area Council. She is also the co-chair for the Healthy Schools Working Group and has been involved in these efforts for a number of years. And the last person I'm going to recognize is Christy Smith with Child Care Aware of Kansas. She's not able to join us today. She's having a lot of fun somewhere else, I understand. But she has served as the co-chair for the Early Childhood Working Group as well. So I want to thank each of them individually for their support of these efforts. And now I'd like to recognize some organizational partners. The original partner organizations that participated in the Healthy Lifestyles Initiative. One was Integrated Care Solutions, formerly known as Family Health Partners. They were actively involved in initiating the Healthy Lifestyles Initiative. I'd like to recognize Casey Healthy Kids, and I don't see anyone from that organization here as well. Again, they were involved in our first Learning Collaborative, as well as the Kansas City, Missouri Health Department and the YMCA. So all strong organizations who continue to support these efforts in the Kansas City metro area. I also want to take the opportunity to recognize other organizational partners who have supported these efforts and continue to do so. I'd like to recognize the Wyandotte County Health Department, so I want to thank Wesley King. University of Missouri Extension, who's provided a significant amount of support for our efforts. You. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. Pat Simmons was unable to join us today, but has been really instrumental in helping expand access to resources, particularly in the state of Missouri. I want to recognize Truman Medical Center's WIC program. They've been actively involved in these efforts, and I heard from their director this morning who thought she's going to be able to join us, but had a number of challenges overnight that prevented her from being here. I want to recognize HRSA for their continued and ongoing support. Rich has been a real champion both in putting the Obesity Summit together, but also continuing to make this childhood obesity a priority area when we all know the challenges with government funding going on right now. I'd like to recognize what's now known as the Health Forward Foundation. They've been instrumental in providing funding for these efforts, as well as the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. So, with that, thank you.
Thank you.
Please do remember to pick up the evaluation forms and turn those in. We really do listen to what you're saying and your feedback. One of the things that I've noticed over the past year or so is people are really looking for opportunities to network. I'd like to invite you to do that for the rest of your time with us. So again, thanks for joining us.
Hey, you guys make my job easy.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yep.
And
Good partners.
Like you brought some, yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, she actually, I texted her this morning because we had
Oh, gotcha.
a supervisor's meeting at 9 o'clock. So you're